Well, hello there. Welcome to the Obi Thorn Alliance. And in this live stream, like last year, we're doing our top 5 awards for movies and TV shows. And we've got a very special guest, Zach Attacks. Introduce yourself as Zach Attacks for your third
Hey,
time.
everyone. Yeah, this is my third time. This is a tradition now, and I'm
Yeah,
excited to be here. If you don't know, you should know. I'm Zach from Zach Attack Reviews. I do movie reviews just like these guys. And I also do like movie discussions and things like that on my channel.
Cool. So, what's new? What have you been up to? It's a holiday season. Are you doing much for Christmas or
For Christmas, I'm going over my cousin's house. I haven't been there yet, and all of my like cousins and aunties and stuff like that are coming over too. So I'm gonna be there for like the night, and then in the morning I'm gonna go watch Nosferatu, which I'm excited to go check out.
what's that?
Nosferatu is a remake of this old 1914 vampire film, and the guy did Northman and the Witch and Lighthouse doing it. So good. It has a bunch of good actors in it. I'm excited.
Okay, cool. And what are you doing, Jackie, for Christmas?
just spending it with the family.
Yeah, me too. Just luckily my family all lives close by, so we'll be doing something. So that'd be cool. Okay. Before we get into the list, how many movies have you watched, Zach? I'm intrigued to know how many you've watched this year. What'd you get? 90 last year?
I think I got to 100 last year.
Mhm.
As of right now, I went to see a movie yesterday, so I'm at 136.
Cool. Are they all new movies, or do you include like previously released movies as well on that?
No, this list is just all new movies that came out in 2024. I have like a separate one for like the old stuff that I caught up on.
Cool. Well, how many you reckon you watched, Jacob, this year?
Not as many as you two in the 40s.
Yeah, Jacob's watched 40.
That's
I'm at
okay.
I'm at 142, and you're at 136. So we've seen a lot of movies between us.
You're in
Yeah.
the echelon of movie watching, you two.
Have you having watched so many movies? Do you have a different outlook on movies now, or a different way, like that you might review them, or like just the way you
Oh
see it?
yeah.
'Cause I have some opinions, but I don't know what you have to say.
Yeah, I've been doing YouTube for 4 years, and when I started doing YouTube, I didn't watch as nearly as movies as I watch now. Back then, I only really watched Star Wars, Star Trek, MCU, DCU, and sometimes I'll watch like one of those indie films. But now I watch way more indie films than I used to watch before now. So like my outlook on like what I like has changed a lot.
Yeah, I reckon through watching so many movies this year, I've obviously watched a lot of movies I wouldn't have otherwise watched, which isn't a bad thing. But I've came to realize that the casual watcher that watches 10 movies a year, their perception of what a good and bad movie is very different than what I would consider a good and bad movie. So a movie
Yeah,
where some go, oh, that's like the third best movie this year, I'll look at it and go, that's almost like the 60th on the list once you start to see a lot more.
yeah,
And
yeah.
then movies that people bag out and say, well, that was absolute garbage. It's like, well, you're comparing it to probably the 4 other blockbusters you saw. So yes, it is. But once you see all the other movies that are out there that don't make it to the movies, it's not that bad.
Yeah, I was talking about that like with people with Craven. I was just like, look, it's not the best movie in the world, but I've seen a lot of more garbage than this this year, so I enjoyed it for what it was because I've seen
Yeah,
movies that's
that was
absolutely
the
terrible.
example I was about to go with Craven. A lot of people I've seen said it's the
I'm
worst.
bagging it.
Said it's the worst movie they've seen this year, and I was like, I've probably seen 70 movies worse than Craven this year, so it's not that bad.
I have a question
Yeah,
for both of you, since you've seen a lot of movies. Do you prefer does seeing a excellent movie, do you look forward to that with seeing so many bad movies? Or do you actually like seeing the bad movies because you look forward to seeing the good movie? Which one do you prefer, from the bad or the good?
I definitely prefer a good movie. I like celebrating film, but I
Mm,
will say like I'm a little I'm not as harsh on films as a lot of people are. Like
mm,
I'm not giving everything 5 stars, but when I look
no.
at this, 135 films, I'll say maybe out of the 135, 25 of them are to me are like not that great.
Mm.
So I've seen a lot of films that I think are good to great or excellent this year.
Yeah, I think I try and see films on their kind of like what their intent was. Like there's movies where you're like I'll give the example, maybe like Sharknado. I know that's very popular, but that movie is not really meant to be that good. So you don't go in there expecting to be good. So you value it on that. But then you go see a
Winnie the
movie
Pooh, Blood and Honey. It's a good
yeah.
example. Like that
Or
movie's
like-
not supposed to be meant to be a masterpiece.
Yeah, whether I think of something like a big movie that's hyped up like Deadpool and Wolverine. If that isn't good, then that's a huge disappointment because it's meant to be good. But then there's movies you're like, no, that's their intent. Like, so if a movie's meant to be funny and it's not, that's a bad movie. If a movie, if it's a horror and it's meant to be scary and it's not, well, that's a bad movie. But if it does what it's meant to, like, you know, you got to give it some merit. They don't all have to be masterpieces. Like, they just got to meet their intended purpose.
I 100% agree. That's exactly how I look at movies when I watch them, because a lot of people are like, this didn't give me what I wanted. I'm like, is the movie say it was going to do that? Or you came in with your preconceptions for it? That's like the problem I see a lot of people have.
Mm-hmm. I did find, I reckon, after watching so many movies this year, there was so many that there's a lot of movies that are the same in a way, or like I guess it's hard to find a unique movie, and every time I found a unique one, it then found a way to disappoint. So I think of a movie like Heretic. I was like, cool, this is unique, but then it had like a little bit plot hole in the end. I'm like, okay, this Nelly was a perfect movie, and then you've thrown in something different. So it's like, I feel like studios play it safe. They either copy the same thing, or then when they do something unique, they then somehow blunder it, and it's a bit disappointing. Like I can't think of too many movies I saw this year that I thought were perfect, but there was so many that were close. They were like one scene away from it or one little plot line, which again, not to be too critical, but there's so many movies this year I thought had the potential to be masterpieces and then just fell short. And that annoys me when you watch so many movies.
Yeah. I even think films that are masterpieces, or even a film that I give 5 out of 5, 4.5 out of 5, they all have issues. Like my whole top 5, there's issues in the film. It's just like how good is the film that I can overlook the issues. I think that's the most important part. Like I don't care about these issues because this movie's so good and I'm going to rewatch it and it's rewatchable. But I do agree that there are a lot of unique films that came out this year, but they're so unique that sometimes it's like, like for example, I saw The TV Glow. We talked about this a couple of days ago. That's a movie that's super unique, but it's boring. You know what I mean? Like it doesn't have any of the traditional stuff at all. And then there's movies like Heretic that is very unique, but then adds some traditional elements at the end that lets you down a little bit because you thought they were going to find a new way to wrap it up. So it's like trying to find that balance.
Yeah, I guess when you see so many and you go beyond the blockbusters, you expect those indie films or the kind of hidden. You think you're going to find these hidden gems, and I get disappointed when you don't. And you're like, okay, well,
yeah,
it sucks because there's other people that could be exposed to those films, but then you wouldn't recommend I Saw the TV Glow to anyone. So you go, well, you know, this was a potentially cool indie film that might open people up to seeing new genres, but it's like, no, don't, because it will deter you. Just don't go see this film.
Yeah. I don't want to piss them off. Like, you have terrible taste. I'm like,
from this topic that you guys are talking about, which movie were you the most disappointed about that fumbled the hardest? Which one were you like, oh no, you were the most disappointed about?
Let me see. I got my letterbox up right now.
It's a tough question because there's like movies that I think were disappointed me but were consistently bad, and then there's movie like we talked about Heretic, which I really, really, really like, but just that one little plot hole towards the end, I was like, oh, you remove that. So it's kind of a disappointment. Like that to me could have been a 4.5 star film, but kind of dropped a bit because of that. So that's a disappointment, but then I don't know. And then there's movies that I thought were just an embarrassment, like Rippy, the one about the Australian kangaroo zombie. Like that was just, I found that was embarrassing. That was like Ray Gun all over again.
Crazy. 2 movies I could right off the top of my list. 2 movies I recently watched. One is Queer, which is a gorgeous looking movie, interesting concept. It just got it kind of lost focus towards the end. Decided to get a little weird. Huh?
How did it lose focus in the end for you?
Because it was about this queer man played by Daniel Craig who lacks confidence and he's trying to find himself. And they kind of shift from that to him trying to find a drug to make him hallucinate. And I was like, wait, hold up. So he like does that and he goes on his trip and it kind of like dwells into this psychedelic thing. And none of that was in the beginning of the movie. So like the first 2 acts of the film are like normal, like this old school. He's the guy that's trying to get another guy, but the other guy is like the mysterious girl. Like that the guy is playing the mysterious girl in this film. Like you don't know anything much about him, and he's handsome or whatever. And Daniel Craig is chasing after him. And I was like, okay, cool. It's like a romance film. I've seen films like this, but it's from a queer perspective. But then it went into like this psychedelic in a forest with a weird shanty doctor thing. And I was like, wait, where the hell did this come from? So that's why I was like, it feels like it lost focus. It's like weird stuff just started happening.
What? The doctor is involved in a homosexual movie? That sounds odd.
Daniel Craig. Well, it's not the first time. Daniel Craig. I think. What's it called? What's that popular movie that's on Netflix now? Where he plays a detective.
Knives Out or whatever it is.
Knives Out. Yeah, his character's gay in that too. It's not the. I think this is his 3rd time playing a queer character, but that and also a movie called Emilia Perez, which is getting a lot of Oscar buzz right now. I went into it because a lot of people talked about it was great. And I was like, this is not good. I was just shocked. Like the concepts of what it's about is good. And if it was written better, it would be good. But it just drops the ball at so many points. And I was just like, what the heck is going on?
Yeah, I've got a movie that I want to talk about later when I talk about the worst. It's like that everyone's saying is amazing, and I think and it's not the one you think, Jacob. and I think that I just don't get it, and I understand. I'll talk about it later. If I bring it up, we'll probably get into a discussion about it. So go on, but yeah, it's a bit strange when you hear it's weird, especially when I hear people bag movies, and then you're like, "Ooh, that actually wasn't too bad." You're a bit critical, but then you see movies that people are going nuts about, and you're like, I don't get it. And I could understand it if you weren't a prolific movie watcher and you weren't a reviewer, and you say, well, maybe you don't get it. But for someone that watches a lot of movies and I think has a critical mind, it's like, I don't think I didn't get it. I just think maybe you guys have seen. I don't know. The movie,
film is subjective, so sometimes people see things and things that we just don't see. You know how remember I told you Saw TV Glow is about the trans experience? I didn't get that at all from that movie, but a lot of trans people did. So, you know.
Yeah, it's interesting that when you see a big collective, like the movie I'm talking about is The Substance. Like I hear people go nuts about it, and I'm kind of like, I don't get it. And I like those type of movies, but I just don't get. It's to me seemed like a movie that I thought everyone would bag out. But then it didn't. And it's like, well, there's other movies like that people tear to shreds, but everyone talks this one up. And it's like, I don't get the difference. But
interesting.
Again,
okay.
We'll get into it later. So what do you want to do, Jacob, first? Do you want to do TVs or movies?
I guess keep to the same structure as last year, TV shows, and then do that, yes.
Okay. Do you want to tell us your top 5 first?
Like last year, go with the guest because the guest is the most important one here.
Yeah. So, do you guys want to look at? I think Collective Movie Man's been saying a bunch of comments. Did you want to look into that before I get into my?
Yeah, we'll get that. So, the Collective Movie, do you think you might want to join me for movies looking for 2000? Show already had the list ready. Seen 28 movies this year. I've seen 208 movies combined with new release that were theaters and old movies I brought on physical. A lot of people are starting to buy physical media again. Apparently, the sales of physical media this year have been higher than a lot of movies previously. And I guess that's probably because of the cost of streaming. And then we've got the whole dilemma with, movies like 28 Days Later and not being able to get it anywhere. So people have gone out and bought physical copies. So the fear of not being able to find media in the future.
And the quality of the streaming.
Are there any movies I'm hoping?
Oh God! It is Return to King. Well, that answers your questions. Not Wicked, Conclave, and Dune Part.
Oh, is that referring to my movie that I said that I?
Yeah, because he loves those movies. That's his 3 favorite.
I love
movies.
Wicked, so I'll just throw it out there. I'm not going to say a bad thing about Wicked. I definitely will not be watching them because I've heard there's needles and I can't stand needles. Yeah, we'll get into the
There's a lot of
substance. I don't
news.
think it's bad. I just thought people would hate it. That's more my take on it. And they didn't. Okay, so shows, Zach. What's your top 5 TV shows for the year?
Are we going like 5, everybody, or I just tell you all 5 of mine?
You go your top 5.
Okay, so number 5 is The Penguin. I thought that the show did a really good job of expanding on Oswald Cobblepot, or I guess they called him Oz Cobble now, or whatever they changed his name to. Colin Farrell is going very underrated in his performance here. I think people are taking him for granted because he just does it so effortlessly, but he's done a great job transforming himself into this version of the Penguin. And then I'm forgetting the villain name. Was it Sophia?
Oh yeah, Sophia. Yeah,
That actress was absolutely amazing throughout the series. The acting overall is really, really strong. Each week, the building suspense to what was going on and where everything was going to lead. I was really, really penguins. I was really, really excited for. I think that if this was a year where I watched more TV, this probably would be lower on my list, because I do think it's kind of a pastiche of other like mob shows like The Sopranos. And so it's not as unique as I want it to be, but it's still a great watch week to week. After Penguin is Invincible. I'm just a really big fan of this show. I love Invincible. It's such a fun show. I never really know what's going to happen. I can't predict like where the show is leading to any season. And every time a finale comes in, it never disappoints. I've never watched the last episode of Invincible season, go, I was like, yo, I need to see the next season. The characters are fun, it's colorful, it plays how to what would superheroes be if it was real life, but it still feels comic booky at the same time. And this season did a really, really good job of really testing the main character. So I really, really liked this new season of Invincible. So this one I thought I wasn't gonna like at all. I'm shocked that it's even on my list at all. Agatha All Along.
Yes.
I saw the trailer for this. I thought it was gonna be garbage. I was like, why are they? I like Agatha from WandaVision, but why are they making Agatha show? We don't need that. All this other stuff. And now it's like, I love this show. Even the first 2 episodes of the show, like. And then episode 3 comes, and then 4, and then I just got locked in, and it was just such a unique show because it takes elements from like Wicked and Sabrina the Teenage Witch, like other stuff, but it feels super unique. I don't know any other show that's like Agatha at all. All the characters are fun. There's stakes. There's twists turns I didn't see coming. There's interesting ways they did each episode, and the themes that they had in them, and then the ending really nailed it. One of the problems that MCU shows have had is nailing the last episode. And I think the 9-episode thing is where they should go. I think 6-episode issue for the past shows. I think 9 episodes is the way to go because they really get to flesh everything out around and make an actual show. So yeah, that's all along. I'm excited to see the characters go after this. Number 2 is Elementary. This is my favorite sitcom on TV right now. It's super duper funny, super duper relevant in terms of I used to work. I understand all the stuff that these teachers are going through in terms of some Agatha witchery. And it's just really funny. You know, like the way people do The Office, I feel about Abbott. And you said your internet is going really crazy. My internet's going crazy?
Yeah, it's chunking a bit.
Oh, it's not showing my side, so I didn't know. My bad. And my number 1 show for the year is, someone mentioned it in here just now, is Superman and Lois, the final season. I think this is my 3rd time on here. I think it's been my number 1 show every time I come on here. Nice. I just love Superman as a character. I love this version of the character. And I think that with this being the final season, they threw everything in there that they could. And it was less episodes. They had less characters to play with, but they really utilized everything to its peak. And I think that the way they ended it off was a way where I was like, wow, I never thought about Superman having an end. It always feels like a character is going to go on and on and on forever. He's immortal. And they really wrapped it up really, really well with a bow on top, and I loved it.
Okay, I really need to watch that. I've heard a lot of people say it, and I'm a massive DC fan. I just haven't got around to it, so yeah, I think that's
Yeah.
on my list for next year. Things to watch.
So I got
Yeah,
a couple.
if you're a DC fan and a Superman fan, you're definitely going to enjoy the show.
So I've got a couple of questions for your list, Zach. Definitely agree with Argtha all the way. I was on the same boat as you. We even had a discussion. I was very critical about the show, and then with the mindset of thinking that it wasn't a Marvel show, it's really good.
Yeah. It's really, really good.
I'm glad I've met someone that's watched Elementary. I watched maybe 2 episodes of the first season, and I quite liked it, but then I kind of just forgot and didn't go back to it. And I haven't met anyone else I could discuss it with, because I see it wins lots of awards, but I don't know anyone else that's seen it that can actually vouch that it's any good. So that's interesting that you like it. So I think it might be something I need to.
That first half. Stick with it.
Again.
Am I back?
Yeah, kind of. Okay. Do you want me to go or you to go, Jacob?
You can go next.
Okay, so I'll just give it a sec, see if Zach comes back. Okay, so I haven't watched that many TV shows this year, so making the list was a bit hard, but I did kind of pick out things, selectively choose things that I really wanted to watch. So generally the things, on the list are things I already liked. But there's a few newcomers. So at number 5, I got Nobody Wants This, which was on Netflix, I believe. It's got Adam Brody in it and Kirsten. No, is it Kirsten? Yeah, I know. She's from. Yeah, Kirsten Bell. That's the one. So I really liked that. It was a different take on, like a romantic comedy love story where they were mature instead of this like, he sent a text to this girl and I'm going to dump him. They were like mature about it and fleshed it out and talked about it. And it was kind of refreshing because we didn't have that same drama you see in your typical rom-com, which I liked. And plus him also being a rabbi, he was, like smart and courteous and obviously just wasn't your typical dickhead you'd get in a lot of shows. So I liked that. It was every time you expected to do something, it did the opposite. And it just felt refreshing not to have the same drama all the time. So I thought that was an easy watch. I don't necessarily think it was an amazing show, but I liked it that it didn't just follow the same formula that other shows had. I don't know how many seasons it's got in it, but for a first season, it was pretty easy to binge and watch. So I quite enjoyed it. Number 4, I've got The Penguin. Obviously, I really like The Penguin. I'm a big DC fan. I've just got it kind of towards the bottom of the list because I expected it to be good. So it just kind of met my expectations. It didn't blow me away. So I guess a lot of people would have went in there hoping it was going to be good. I just assumed it was going to be good and it kind of lived up to it. So I guess the things above it kind of blew me away or did something a bit different. So The Penguin was a very, very solid show and looking forward to where it leads into the next Batman movie. Number 3, I've got Presumed Innocent. I like Kenny's emojis. So I got Presumed Innocent, which is, we've talked about this, but it's based upon a book and a show, and then had a sequel to the movie, and then now they've remade it as Apple.
It was originally a book.
Yeah, and then it's going to be an anthology series now, but It's got Jake Gyllenhaal as the main character and follows him being blamed for accused of the murder of his co-worker, and they're both district attorneys. And I just thought it had a good twist to it, and you didn't quite know what was going to happen. And then even when it reveals what's going on at the end, I don't think it was obvious, which is always good for a mystery show where Jacob and I often, when we watch these type of shows, we're trying to guess what's going on, and at the end we're like, oh, I saw that coming, but I thought with this I didn't feel that.
Give you the answer.
Yeah, and it didn't do it in a stupid way, because some shows will just like last episode, here's the murderer, but you've never seen them before. We didn't mention them prior to the last episode. And you're like, well, how could you guess that? Where the murderer was in your face the whole time, but they didn't give it away. They did a really good job of hiding it. So I like that. It's a bit different.
Would Presumed Innocence be higher for you, Luke, if it wasn't a anthology series? If it ended and it was actually a limited series, would it be higher for you?
I think so. I do like I do like an anthology series, but I don't know if this one required it, because I don't know where they're going to go with it. Where some anthology series make sense, like
Black Snow.
Black Snow, because he'll go on to a different case next year. The Sinner, you have the same detective carrying on from season to season with a new kind of crime going, and it works for that. But I don't know how this will work. Will Jake Gyllenhaal's character now be a lawyer for someone else? Like, I think it's a bit weird when you do an anthology series and none of the characters carry over. It doesn't have a reason to. You go, well, you're just trying to use the IP that came from the first season and carry it on and hope that people want to watch it. But really, it's a whole new concept. So I don't know. I'd like to see how they do it, but I think it would have been better if it didn't. So I've only watched 2 TV shows this year. Last episode tomorrow, third show, House of the Dragons. I'm starting to get a trend here. You're a big fan of anything Game of Thrones. Great. Okay, so then I'll move on to 2 on the list. I've gone The Bear. I've consistently liked every season of The Bear, and each season's been a bit different, and I like it. I think they've taken a lot of risk. I like the way that it encapsulates what it's like to work in a kitchen. I like that it's not overly drama focused. Characters, yes, there's a lot of fighting between characters, but it's fighting because they're in a situation inside the restaurant, opposed to you slept with my boyfriend or I'm in love with this person, these drama circles. I like that it's a bit different, and they're arguing about trying to get this restaurant to succeed and trying to different views. And I think it's real. It's like scripted reality TV almost. It's like, you put a camera inside a kitchen and you're watching these people just do their thing, but it's scripted. And I think it works really well. I don't know how many seasons it has in it, but each season they've tried something different. I thought this one was really cool. Looking forward to what happens in the next. But I also like the way they film it too. Like, I thought in this season it looked like they had a lot of scenes where they just went and filmed people in the public. Like, each episode had something different to it. Like, there was an episode that kind of felt like a recap of his life, and then there's an episode where they don't talk much, and each episode had this really unique trend to it. I thought it was cool. It took a risk, and there's not too many other shows that have done that I think is unique.
What did Collect the Movie say to your response?
The last season I'll be watching this year is Dune Prophecy, final episode tomorrow. And then number 1 on the list,
I know what it is.
was Fallout.
Yeah.
So Fallout, I think for me, why it's top of the list is I didn't expect to like it. I've not played the games, and I really had no interest in playing the games. And then when I saw the trailer, it got me excited. But then when I watched it, I really, really liked it, which has now got me into playing the game. So for me, that's why it's so fun, because it exceeded my expectations and then created this new fandom for me that I didn't have prior, which I think is really cool. Like, none of the other shows have really created that. That's why for me, the Penguin's a bit lower on the list, because I already had the fandom there. I'm a massive fan of anything Batman related. Where this, I didn't know I would like it. Now I want to play the games and have been playing the games. I want to see the next season. I think Fallout, it's just really cool. It also feels politically relevant, sadly. Like the fact that, this realistically could happen, or realistically already happening.
Or is happening.
Yeah, so it's just quite cool that something... Yeah, we kind of went on a dark rabbit hole, Jake and I, looking into the order of the Fallout games and where it all goes together, and Fallout's a really interesting series, and the games are cool. So I'm looking forward to the next season. I thought all the acting in it was really good. The main actress was great. The supporting actor, the male, was really funny. And like some of the dialogue, there was just like some of the things they come out and say because they're kind of socially awkward, or like they don't. And I also like the visuals of Fallout, that it's futuristic but also old school. Like, I like that their tech is in the future and has future applications, but it looks like a TV from the 1960s. Something about it. I just think Fallout's kind of it's a bit of a trip to watch. So I'm a big fan of Fallout. So that's my number 1 show.
Just to let people know in the comments, when we finish my top 5, we'll do a Q&A. So we'll do a Q&A when we finish my top 5.
Is that Fallout? Robot?
Yeah.
Whatever that is. Yeah.
Cactus, yeah. I think that's Fallout.
So, going into my top 5, unfortunately, I actually didn't get to finish off the Penguin. So, the Penguin won't be making it on my list. So coming in at number 5, I kind of had to readjust the list, is actually Cross on Amazon Prime. And it actually had quite a lot. It had 3 storylines going for it, but the heart and soul storyline of Cross going after the serial killer was absolutely amazing television. That storyline deserves to make the list, but the other storyline kind of drags it. It has too much going on for it, and that's why it doesn't get high, is because I was kind of saying to my mum that they're not going to wrap up both storylines, and in episode 8 they do. To me, that's like so unrealistic that they do. I thought in season 2 they were going to wrap up who was stalking Cross's house, but magically they do. So I really enjoyed Cross, but it just had too much in the one cake. So that's why it's at number 5. Coming at number 4 is Bashoom Innocence. And this was the most excellent weekly watch that I've seen all year with Jake Gyllenhaal. He was a man going insane until the last moment when we saw who it actually was. And the show definitely didn't give you the answers, and except for one conversation, but who would have picked who it was from that conversation? The acting in this show, and yes, this is an Apple show, and I definitely love Apple. It's a great show. I don't know if I'm looking forward to season 2 as much, but definitely it depends how they go with it as well. If you love court dramas and great dramas, and this is how you do a murder mystery compared to The Acolyte, Bashoom Innocence is the way to go. Coming in at number 3 is The Jackal, The Day of the Jackal. This is a British TV show with the actor that plays Scoot
Redmayne.
out of the
Scoot Commander.
Yeah, Scoot Commander. And he is a ruthless hitman trying to hunt down, he gets paid and he hunts down victims. And it is a awesome show. If you like cat and mouse sort of shows, this is your sort of show. It got also these 2 shows were meant to be a limited series, but they got renewed, so they were lying with their marketing. But all really awesome shows. Really liked the assassins that he did in the show. Really awesome to watch. Coming in at number 2 is Arcane League of Legends. This was such an awesome show from season 1. Season 2 was not as good because unfortunately they rushed it. But I do believe they are doing spin-offs because they were meant to do 5 seasons, but the budget was too much for Netflix to handle. But the storyline at the end, I believe they were going to do more scenes, but they cut out some. But the final episode went for 15 minutes, and it was definitely worth watching. League of Legends was amazing animation. From how season 1 ending, it was so good to watch. Really enjoyed League of Legends. Definitely worth your time. Definitely would recommend it. One of the best shows of the year. Definitely worth watching from Netflix.
Nice.
Coming in at number 1 is Fallout. I said it in the last stream. From someone that hasn't played the video games, this is definitely the best TV show of the year. Really enjoyed this show. from the acting, storytelling, definitely want to watch season 2. Very fantastic show. Hope season 2 is as good as season 1, and definitely looking forward to seeing how it goes.
Cool, good list. We had a bit of diversity in there, and a couple of crossovers. It seemed like, ignoring the fact you hadn't seen the Penguin probably would have fallen on all of our list. Other than that, Fallout was on 2 of ours, but yeah, it's a bit of a very diverse list. I'm intrigued to see where the movies will go, because I think we'll have a lot of diversity amongst the movies.
Yeah.
So as Jacob said, you want to do a Q&A. So if anyone's got any questions, feel free to write them in. Otherwise, if you got some questions for Zach.
So Zach, which movie were you excited to see at the cinemas, but you were let down by a particular point in the movie that took you out of the experience?
So I didn't do the review for this movie yet. I wrote it out, and you know that because you saw it. I'm gonna do it after this, but The Brutalist, I saw it last night. And
was that the indie film you were talking about?
Yeah, the A24 film that came out last night. Got to see it in 70 millimeter. And it's one of the front runners for like Best Picture and Best Actor and all this other stuff. So I wanted to check it out. And I was locked into the film. It's a very long film. There's a particular love-making scene in it that took me out of the experience for like 10 minutes. Because I was like, what the hell is going on? Yeah, well, that's not that long because the movie's like 3 hours and 35 minutes. So 10 minutes is nothing in all of that. But I was just like I wasn't absorbed in the film as much because of it. Because I was like, why did they make this choice? It just didn't make any sense to me, and also didn't add to the story. I felt like that scene could have been done differently and met more emotionally, and it just was awkward. And like I was looking around the theater, and other people were kind of looking theater, you know what I mean? Like, what the heck is going on right now? I don't want to spoil it or anything with it, but yeah, it was like that particular scene that was just like, why is this here? So that's every single thing we talked about. One funny one is for Madam Web. Obviously that movie's not great, but I had fun watching it. Her riding in the same taxi that she stole the whole movie, I just couldn't get that out of my head. I was like, she stole this taxi. They put a cop alert about it, and she's just riding around with it. That's all I can think about that whole movie. So that was pretty funny.
I find that annoying. Like, I hate to be the person that picks on things in movies and goes, well, that's not realistic. Well, yes, they're movies. Of course there's going to be things. But when it's something so blatantly obvious, it's like that. Like, someone would have picked that up. Or I watched the movie Carry On the other night with Taron Egerton. And he's like I liked it. But he's like, in the luggage bit of the plane when it's taken off, like, he would have got thrown around. Like
or the fact that he was talking to himself. I was like, no one sees him talking to himself?
Yeah, like he's talking to himself, and they're like people, like it's airport security. Like people would be looking at him going, what is this guy doing? Or even like the amount of times people were sprinting through the airport and like not crash tackled. And I was like, oh, okay. But the movie I like, but yeah, I'm looking at it going, no way. Or like no one could, I don't know, maybe it's different in America, but to walk up to airport security and be like, you're a joke, like as they're like doing their bag check and going, you're an embarrassment. You're like, if you did that here, you'd get taken to a back room and like frisked. Like, surely you can't get away with speaking to the TSA like that.
Yeah, you can. They talk crazy to CSA in America all the time.
Yeah,
they have a rough job.
Okay, so we do have a question here. Can anyone know what our 6th TV show of the year would be?
6?
Yeah, which one just missed the list? So maybe some honorable mentions.
Probably The Penguin, because I didn't finish it. Agatha all the way. X-Men 97.
X-Men 97 is number
6. I was going to put that on the list, but for me, the starting point wasn't that strong. But the final 5 episodes were probably the best television But for me, I think Cross had a better overall plot than X-Men 97. But X-Men 97 was amazing. And it's being renewed for 2 more seasons. It's going to be having 3 seasons.
Yeah, at least.
I'm trying to think.
Yeah.
I had a few written down today. Jacob, you probably remember better than I have. What are some other shows I watched
The
this year?
Boys, season 4.
Yeah, that would be an
Palm
honorable.
Morale.
That'd be an honorable mention. The Boys season 4. It was
Too political.
It was good, but comparatively to the other seasons, it was not up to scratch. But it's still overall a very, very good show. I'm looking for the next one. Palm Royale was an interesting one on Apple TV. I thought I was going to really like it. And then as I was watching, I'm like, oh, this isn't that good. But then it got really good at the end. Have you seen it, Zach?
No, I haven't.
So like the concept is it's set around the moon landing, and then it's like one of the main characters, she wants to be part of like this rich society, like a club in Palm Royale in Florida, and where like all the hoity-toity people go and sit around the pool and play tennis and golf, and she wants to be part of it. And then like we've got Ricky Martin in it, who's so good, and he plays like this homosexual bartender. But then it ends up turning into being like a whole thing tied in with like the moon landing and trying to assassinate JFK. So it gets really good once they add that. But prior to that, it was like, where is this show going? But visually it was pretty cool, but I think it had a big lull in it. And that'd be it came close to making the list. So yeah. What about you, Jacob? You mentioned the Penguin. Anything else just missed out on your list?
The Penguin, Cross, Agathor, all the way, X-Men 97.
Yeah. What about you, Zach?
Oh, Mr. and Mrs. Smith. Just missed my list. That show, Fallout, X-Men 97, Mr. and Mrs. Smith, just missed my list. I really, really like Mr. and Mrs. Smith a lot. I'm kind of sad that it's becoming an anthology series, kind of like the other shows we were talking about, and they're replacing the cast with new people each season.
What show is this?
Mr. and Mrs. Smith.
Oh, they're going to do an anthology series then. Oh, that's disappointing.
Yeah.
I watched the first episode of the first season. I quite liked it, but everyone else I spoke to didn't, so I didn't continue with it. And like, I'm a big fan of Donald Glover, and so I was hoping it was going to be good. So maybe I'll go back and watch it. I can see why maybe people wouldn't enjoy it, because maybe they were expecting him to be like Troy from Community, or like he's like funny, and it's obviously that's not the case in this show.
Comparing it to me, and they think he's going to be Brad Pitt, and he's not. Yeah.
Where I've seen the movie with Brad Pitt and Angelina Jolie many, many years ago, so I wouldn't compare it because I don't remember it. So I'm willing to go with a fresh eye.
Yeah.
Looks like we got more.
Mr. and Mrs. Smith is excellent, and Collective said the same. So okay, I need to hang out with better friends.
They're straying you on the wrong path.
I've heard so many. So Kenny said X-Men. I've heard so many people say that was really good, and
it is
like a throwback to 90s watching, like getting up on a Saturday morning and watching cartoons. So
the final 5 episodes, best television of the year.
It's insane how consistent those last couple episodes are.
Yeah. Okay. Any more? Oh, Baby. Yeah. Again, I've heard a few people say Baby Reindeer. My wife watched that. I've read a lot about it and what's been going on with it in real life, but I haven't happened to see the show yet.
It's on my list. Silo is another show that I heard really good things about. The Spoiler Kings. I'll talk about that show all the time. I want to watch that as well. It got renewed for another season.
Yeah, Jacob's seen it and read the books.
It's actually got them renewed for 2 more seasons, because they're going to do 2 seasons of book 1, and then season 3 of book 3, and then season 4 of book 4.
Nice.
Yeah, I watched the first half of the season 1, and I didn't dislike it. I just gave up. They're just long, and I'm like, I've got other things I'd rather watch.
Well, the problem is that you got to like Juliet, and if you don't like Juliet, and the world's amazing, but Juliet's the main character. So
I was also watching with my wife, who had already watched it. I don't like watching things with someone else that's already watched it, because they're like waiting to see your reaction to something because they know what's going to happen.
They have the ultimate.
That kind of off-put me.
They have the power.
And then also the fact she had watched it and was then asking me to explain what was going on. And I'm like,
wait. That's the funniest thing I ever heard in my life. She watched it and then explain you who's seen it for the first time. What's going on here?
Yeah, and she's like, "Oh, do you know what happened there?" I'm like, "You've seen this." She's like, "I don't remember it though." I'm like, "Oh," so I just it came too much work, so I just gave up on it.
Oh yeah, I heard about From.
From season.
And then
Supercell,
Skeleton Crew has
yeah.
been great. I do want to watch Skeleton
Yes,
Crew. We've talked about this a bit. I like the idea that Star Wars is trying to expand who they who like its fandom. Obviously, it's going to annoy some purist or like old school fans of Star Wars, but I like it. Like Young Jedi, my son thinks that's the greatest show ever.
The bee's
so,
name.
Yeah, and so I think any
The
of these
bee's
new
name.
things to try and attract different age brackets for Star Wars is cool. I like it, but again, luckily you can opt out of it. You could just choose not to watch the Skeleton Crew or watch Young Jedi. Or you can, like me, I've not seen the Clone Wars, and I don't feel like I've missed out on anything. Even though people say it's amazing, it's like I don't have to watch it. You can still continue with Star Wars and not have seen everything.
Well,
So-
the Clone Wars is pretty important though.
What you explained it. I got the recap. I've only watched the first episodes. I thought it was okay, but I like creating Commando
Which
better
Commando?
last week in this week's episode. I haven't watched any of it yet. You've watched
Just the first
just the
two
first
episodes.
episode. Yeah.
I'm enjoying Skeleton Crew more than Creature Commandos, but Creature Commandos is good.
Don't watch something me and all we what's going on. Yeah, it's ask what yeah. I'm an old school Star Wars person. I watch Clone Wars. Yeah, obviously I'm not against the Clone Wars. I'm just saying I haven't watched it and I don't feel like I have to, which is good. You know, like Star Wars has got so many different avenues now that you can pick and choose what you want and it's fine. Where I think Marvel now, you kind of, if you don't watch something, it doesn't make sense. Like if you didn't watch
Loki.
Loki, then some of the new movies don't make sense. If you didn't watch WandaVision, then there's bits of the movies that don't make sense. Right? I like that Star Wars don't force that upon you, that you can kind of continue with the main kind of story arc and the rest can be seen as spin-offs.
Can you say the other question?
Clone Wars, 50% good, 50% awful, but good is great.
I guess you're referring to the beginning part, Kenny, when the animation wasn't as good.
I've heard this too. Landman on Paramount's really good. Heard a lot of people say Landman's good.
There's another show with Zoe Saldana on Paramount that I heard was good. What's the name of the show?
Spec Ops. Forgot what the last.
Lioness.
Yes.
Yeah.
I've seen season one. Yeah.
Okay. Well, if one last question wants to sneak in, and then we'll go to the movies, and we can do more questions at the end. Have any of you seen Reacher? I've seen bits and pieces.
Yeah.
I've seen season one.
It's very good.
I've heard very, very good things. Again, TV's not my forte. I focus on movies, so I don't get around to watching as many things. But
you've
again,
got a new goal for next year, haven't you? Classical movies.
Yeah, my goal for next year is to try and watch as many classic movies that I've missed. So if anyone wants to write comment ones I should watch, so I'm talking movies like I've never seen The Green Mile, I've not seen Forrest Gump. You know, like there's a lot of
Life's like a box of chocolate.
I've not seen Shawshank Redemption, which is consistently considered the greatest movie of all time on a lot of lists. So there's a lot of big movies I haven't seen. So next year, that's my aim, to try and catch up.
Training's Day, your first one, isn't it?
I've decided Training
Gotta
Day is going
watch
to be the
that.
first movie on my list.
With Denzel. Yeah.
I have seen it, but I don't remember it. But I want to rewatch it just because a few friends of mine have a few jokes going on about that movie. Like we share gifs back and forward of Denzel's character from that movie. But I don't know it. I haven't seen the movie, so I need to watch it.
Awful. Fair enough.
Why do people hate Jar Jar Binks? I like the Jar Jar Binks reference in Heretic. I love how he brings Jar Jar Binks into that movie.
Yeah.
How far back? Yeah, I would consider it if it's like a movie everyone says I need to see. So maybe I'd see Casablanca. I have seen Godfather. Not all of them. I saw the first one. I haven't seen the others.
What's your hot take about The Godfather, Luke?
Oh, well, I just didn't think. I found the first one quite boring, so I haven't watched the second one. But
Oh no, hot take.
I'm scared that when I watch it for the first time, it's gonna be boring to me. That's what I'm scared about watching those movies.
I understand why people speak so highly of it, because when it came out, it was quite revolutionary. But now watching it, I was like, yeah, it's okay. Like I've seen mafia movies and shows better than this already. But I don't want to disrespect anyone and continue. And I also did watch it on a plane, so maybe that kind of I felt trapped.
Penny's listing a lot for you.
I have seen Speed. I've seen The Lion King. I've seen Face Off. I have not seen Seppuku.
There you go.
There's some more. I'll add that to the list. Continue to write them down if you like. What I'm going to do is I'm starting with the IMDb top 100 rankings from viewers, and then I'm just going to watch the ones on there that I haven't seen. So there's probably 50 there already, and then I'll then add recommendations that people. So the 4K is amazing. It's like crystal clear. Yeah, I'm not questioning like the quality, like visually. I just kind of was watching, going, okay, cool. Like I don't know. I was like, I think maybe when you hear someone say that this is the best thing you're ever going to see in your life, your expectations are up here. So then it's hard to live up. And I think that's what it was.
Yeah.
7,
favorite film of all time.
Yeah, I think I've seen 7.
7 is a great movie.
The Thing, I haven't seen that. I will. Oh, another movie I need to add to the list is The Sixth Sense. I've seen it made like bits and pieces as a kid, but I couldn't remember the whole thing. I know the spoilers. I know the concept, what happens, but I'd still like to rewatch it. So that's on the list. The Shining. Yep, haven't seen The Shining.
Just tons of movies. I just watched Vertigo for the first time early in the year. That was a great film. That's old.
Yeah, I've never seen as well Interstellar, which is not old, but everyone seems to have seen Interstellar, and I haven't seen it. So I'm trying to pick out, those ones that everyone seems to talk about, and I'm just sitting there going, I don't know, I haven't seen it. So I want to try.
It's kind of old now. It's 10 years old.
Yeah. So I want to fill that blank so I can at least partake in the conversation when people bring up these movies. Have you seen the original Psycho from the 60s? Is that different? Is that the Jack Nicklaus one, or there's one prior to that, or is that not Psycho? Which one is the one?
Is Jack Nicklaus from Psycho? Oh, you're talking about the Bates Motel's. The show is based off the 60s movie.
Yeah. Yes. I also want to see is it American Psycho with Christian Bale? I haven't seen that yet either.
Yeah, the remake's coming.
The Matrix. I have seen The Matrix. I've seen Shaft. I've seen that.
He's gonna keep going. So
yeah, I've seen One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest. Okay, whilst he keeps writing his list, let's go through our movies. So Zach, what's your top 5 movies?
Let me scroll up. I'm in the wrong page.
Seen The Exodus.
So number 5 is The Nickel Boys. This has recently come out in the last 2 weeks or so and crept up on me. It is a first-time director named Ramel Ross, and it's about these 2 Black kids in the Jim Crow South. So it's like the 1950s, I guess. And the main kid gets accused of a crime that he didn't commit. So he gets sent to this reform school called Nickel Academy. And what's special about this film is that it's first-person POV from like 90% of the film. So you're seeing it directly from the eyes of the character, and it makes you feel like you're in the situation that he's in. And during the Jim Crow South, it was very segregated, and obviously the treatment of African Americans was still terrible. And he's this very optimistic to the point where he's like kind of naive kid who thinks he can talk to the manager and get out of a situation when he's not realizing like, yeah, nah, you can't do that. So the way that like his innocence started being crumbling until he finds this other kid and they start bonding and becoming best friends and trying to figure out a way to get out of Nickel Academy, because they tell you that you can get out of Nickel Academy, but you really can't get out of Nickel Academy. It's either you stay there forever or you die. Like that's basically what they're doing to these kids here. And it's just a harrowing story, but the way they put it together with the first person point of view, the beautiful visuals, the movie has some comedy in there, and just like all the things that these kids go through together was absolutely amazing. So that's a movie I expect to get awarded this award season. And I highly recommend it because it's such a different kind of film. It's probably not going to be coming out in Australia until next year, so it'll be a 2025 film for you guys.
Yeah, I haven't heard
Um,
any mentioning of it. I just quickly Googled it and saw it, like it's based upon a book, and but yeah,
Yeah.
I haven't seen a single trailer for it. It's funny how the order of movies, some of the ones we get before you, and then there's
Iron
some,
Claws one,
and then there's ones where
was for
you'll
them.
get and we won't get for a long time. Like for instance,
They got Iron Claw first.
yeah, or like We Live in Time. It doesn't come out. Like I've seen it, but it doesn't come out in Australia at the movies to mid-January. So yeah, it's like it's strange some of the movies that come out like the order. But yeah, that'll probably be a movie that will come out mid next year, and it may only go to like indie theaters and not main theaters because our theaters, because of the lack of population, they don't, unless it's a blockbuster, they don't put on at the movies like the big theaters. Yeah.
Yeah.
I did watch your review for this movie, and it sounded good.
Yeah, it's a really great film. It's a hard watch in terms of like understanding what's going on because it's not, you know how you talked about when you watch a movie and sometimes like, you know, like it feels like it's copying things. We were just talking about those unique movies, but sometimes they are too crazy and they let you down. This is a unique movie that doesn't let you down.
Oh, that's good to know.
Okay.
Number 4 is Memoir of a Snail, my favorite animated movie of the year. It is about 2 kids who are, you know, they've lost their mother, they're with their father's kind of sick, and it's kind of just detailing the life of this character and how like all the trials and tribulations that she go through. It's not a kid's movie at all. It's very, very adult, but it's like set in like a claymation Wallace and Gromit kind of animation, but not, it doesn't look exactly like Wallace and Gromit, but it's like similar to that. And all she wants to do is be with her brother, make stop motion animation, and like live her life. But it's just so many different things that keep happening that are negative. And the movie is very sad overall. But what's brilliant about the film is that through all the trauma and the terrible things that happen to her and her brother, they show pockets of happiness. Like even if bad things are happening, you can still find happiness in your life and deal with the situation and find connections with people. And I really like that because a lot of times when you watch movies that are sad, it's just always sad. Everything just keeps happening bad, 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 bad. There's no moments of happy, but it was just bad, and there was like moments of happiness within that bad. So the movie's just really funny. It's paced really well. It's only an hour and 20 minutes, so it kind of flew by. The animation is amazing. The voice acting is amazing, and it's a tearjerker. It's a big, big tearjerker to the point where Kenny Sparks, he saw it after my recommendation, and he told me he was going to sue me for how much he cried watching the movie. But yeah, it's so good. Highly recommend it. I'm rooting for it to win Best Animated Feature of the Year. I don't think it will, but I'm rooting for it. Number 3 is going to be Alien Romulus.
Oh yeah,
I went into this film. So the trailer, and I was hyped. I was like, oh yeah, I'm hyped for this. I've been on, I think I started watching the Alien movies. Yeah, it's so good, but so damn sad. Yeah. I've been start watching Alien movies this year. I started watching them, and wow, this one blew me away. Like almost from the get-go. The visuals are great. I love the characters. I love the horror elements. I love how aggressive the aliens were in this one. And I love the innovation. All the stuff they did with gravity and the acid and just the thing that was at the end of the movie. I was like, what the hell is this crap? I heard someone in my theater go, whoa, no, what the hell? When that thing at the end of the movie showed up, and everybody bust out laughing because everyone was thinking it, like, what is this? So I think it really reinvigorated the Alien franchise and my interest in it. Similar to how that director reinvigorated the Evil Dead franchise with the Evil Dead 2013. I think he did that with this, and I'm really, really excited to see the sequel to this movie. It was so good. One of the best sci-fi movies this year.
Did you like the 2 endings that it had?
The 2 endings?
Yeah, it basically ended that it was all fine, and then the creature at the end showed up, and it's like I was a bit disappointed that they killed it off at the end. I thought they were going to do something with that, unless they make it that it survived in space or something.
Well, I think that the reason why it didn't survive because this is a prequel, so it's between Alien 1 and Alien 2, and then there's a similar creature to it that I think is tied to it in Alien 3. So we will probably see more of a similar creature to this in future movies. But
Mm.
there's an Alien Resurrection. Is it? Yeah, no, sorry, not Alien 3, Alien 4 Resurrection. There's a creature in there that's very similar to this creature from this one.
And
This one
CGI
is more scary. Huh?
and CGI terribly.
Yeah, it's the yeah. The
That
CGI is
movie's
not that
terrible.
great in Resurrection, but the practical effects in Romulus is amazing.
It is.
But yeah, I think that with Alien Earth, the TV show that's coming out, and then probably the Alien sequels that we're gonna get, I think we're gonna see more of this weird combination.
I would assume the
So yeah,
show is on Paramount Plus or
Hulu.
Amazon. Hulu. Okay.
So it'll be on Disney Plus for you guys.
Yeah.
Hope so.
Yeah,
I
because
think
all
it-
Hulu stuff is on Disney Plus now.
Yeah.
Number 2 is going to be controversial for you guys because you just talked about it earlier. But number 2 is The Substance.
I haven't seen
I love this movie. I really like the
Maybe-
themes of the pressure of being young in Hollywood and how you trying to keep up, and even when you age and you can't just age gracefully and still be loved. And I thought that Demi Moore's performance and Margaret Qualley's performance was phenomenal. I think the body horror was disgusting, but also hilarious at the same time. And I really liked the style of the movie. It was just going. It was flashy. It was to the max. Those are the kind of movies I usually end up loving. And the last 30 minutes of the wildest shit I ever seen in my life. I brought my niece to go see it. And I was wondering, because I knew everybody kept talking about how crazy it is, but I was just like, yeah, people say that about movies, but they end up not being that crazy. But I was like, oh, let me see if my niece will like this. She doesn't really watch like weird movies. She ended up loving it, and we had like a whole hour discussion about all the themes. And obviously, she's a woman, so a lot of the stuff that was in there she could relate and explain to me more than like me, because I'm a guy and I'm not experienced all that stuff. So yeah, I absolutely love this movie from the performance, the way it looks, the story, and the way they executed the practical body horror. I like that most of it was practical and that they just went for it. They just, because a lot of movies you watch them, you're like, that was good, but in your head you're like, they could have did something more to make it even better. But I can't imagine what they could have done in this movie to max it out any more than she already did. So yeah, really love The Substance. That's my number 2. And my number 1 is also a movie you guys don't like. Is Dune Part 2.
I knew it was going to be that.
Do Part 2 is number 1 favorite movie of the year. I recently watched it again just to see if it would move down, and I still loved it. And it's everything I want in blockbuster sci-fi. I want a movie that has innovative sci-fi elements to it, like those people in the beginning with the way they were floating up blew my mind. I just don't like the visuals of that. The cinematography is mind-blowing. The soundtrack is amazing. Some of my favorite performances of the year are in this film. The action is really well put together, and the story is super relevant to right now in terms of like false idols and how someone that's charismatic and likable can take you to your doom. Even to the point where I still like Paul Atreides, but I know where he's taking these people to. And I think Timothée Chalamet had one of the best performances this year, going from this like, oh, I don't know what to do, to like, I'm Paul Atreides, and like that shift was amazing. And that another movie where the last 20 to 30 minutes was just amazing. I just sat there watching in IMAX, just blown away by what I was looking at. When the sandworms come through the sandstorm, I was like, all right, greatest movie. It's not the greatest movie ever, but at the moment, I was like, greatest movie ever. And it entered my top favorite movies of all. I think it's at the bottom of my favorite movies of all time list. Obviously, I have to watch it a couple more times. The movies that are on top are the movies that I've seen the most. Yeah, I love that movie.
Have you watched not watched the book? Have you read the book yet?
No, I have not read the book yet. I will try. I heard the book is a lot more dense and like what? So I'm definitely gonna to read it. I think I talked about this on somebody else's stream, and it might have been Collective Movie Man. The reason why I don't read as many books as I used to, because I've been getting headaches when I read. I don't know what it is. I don't know if it's a small text. But I think it's because I need to get different glasses. So I have to go do that first. And then I'll start reading.
Would it be better for you if you get books with larger print? Because I know at the library here we have books with larger print.
I know some books come with larger print, but I don't know if they do that. Like I looked for it in Dune, and all the Dune editions I saw were kind of the same
Okay.
print.
It is
I might have to do audiobooks
Yeah, get
and
the
just
audio.
like
I like audiobooks.
and just listen to somebody talk to me about it.
Would you say the reason, because I know you two are going to have the substance conversation, would you say the difference why you differ is the horror aspect of it or the uniqueness that it tries to tell a different story from it? Is that the reason why you like it more than Luke? Because that's kind of the difference that you see from it. And I can't have an opinion because I haven't seen it. So I
Never seen
guess,
it yet.
is that the reason why you prefer it? Is the
Most
unique?
people that I see have a problem with this film feel like that last 20 minutes was just too much. I think that's like everybody has complained. Even the people who like it, who complain about this film, say it's just too much happens. It just went overboard. And for me,
You think
that was the best part.
that?
I'm glad, like with Alien Romulus, I'm glad that they went that step further with Alien Romulus at the end. I'm glad that they went this step further with the substance because most movies I watch don't go the step further. They play it safe, and it's like, okay, I like this, but this is kind of, this is a boring ending. Like you could have took it another step. So anytime a movie takes it another step and execute it well, because you can take another step and it's not executed well, I'm down for it.
Yeah, I liked the premise of the substance, and I really wanted to like it. But I'm not saying I disliked it, but I thought it was going to be one of those movies that everyone bagged. But then it was the opposite. I feel like most people really love it. I just was really thinking after that end bit, it was going to be a meme and all over the internet. It was going to be some kind of joke, but it just didn't. It was all like, how good's the substance? And obviously, I listened to a lot of podcasts that have actors in it, and they are raving about it because obviously it probably appeals to people in that industry more so too. So it just shocked me. I thought it was going to be people were going to hate it, but people actually loved it. And that was more why it's kind of conflicting with me. But I think the premise is cool. I like the way they filmed it and the style, but it had a few plot holes I thought was a bit unique, which I can go into later. But yeah, the end was like, that kind of did it for me. I was like, nah, I wish I didn't watch this movie now. Like it just got insane. But I can see why people like it, but I just thought people were going to have the opposite. Where there's movies I see and I go, oh, this is a real artsy indie film. People are going to love this. And then it gets bagged. And it's interesting which ones. You wonder sometimes if it's that idea.
Balance.
Whether, some people jump on that bandwagon. Like once someone starts putting hate out there, everyone goes, oh, well, I don't want to be the odd one out, so I'll join it. Or then, the first reviews come out for Substance and say it's amazing. Do people just go in and go, I'll jump on the bandwagon too? Like, does that start to go why some movies go one way and then a similar type of movie goes the opposite way?
I don't think that's. I think that there is a case of that where people will jump on the bandwagon because they don't want to be left out. But I don't think that's the deciding case overall. Because you could look at something like The Last Jedi. The critics loved that. All the is reviewed really well. The audience didn't love it that way. You know what I mean? It's very the opposite. And then you can look at something like Venom. Critics hate Venom, but the audience is positive against it because they just like mindless fun. So I think it just depends on, because there are horror movies and indie movies that are kind of similar in terms of going crazy, but I think it's the execution and the fact that there's top tier actors in this film. A lot of times when these horror movies come out, there are no name actors in it that are in it, and you're like, I don't really care about this person at all. So I think
if I move on to my list, I will go back to the questions from they're not questions, they're recommendations from the Collector Movie Man. I have not seen Who Shot Liberty Valance from 1962. Anyone else seen
Never heard of it.
I have not seen Fistful of Dollars.
I heard about that, yeah.
I have seen The Sound of Music. I've seen that several times. I have not seen The Good, the Bad, and the Ugly.
Nope.
Is that a Western as well, I think?
Yeah, I think it's also
and another Western, Dirty Harry trilogy. No, I have not seen that, but I do know of it.
Yeah.
I have seen the original Jaws. Been on the Jaws ride too at Universal. I like Jaws. Haven't seen Chinatown. Been to Chinatown.
Me too.
Yeah, and I haven't seen Taxi Driver, but I would like to see it. big Robert De Niro fan.
That's what inspired the Joker.
Yeah. The original Rock trilogy. Don't know what that is. As long as it doesn't have Dwayne The Rock Johnson, and I'll probably give it a crack. And if you haven't seen Blown Out, I definitely recommend it. So also don't know what that is. Seen The Karate Kid, big fan of it. Also like Cobra Kai up into the later seasons. And I've seen one of the Terminators. I haven't seen all of them, or like the Sarah Connor ones or any of that. And then Kenny says it's not just gross to be gross. The gratuitous sexualization is bigger, was matched by the gratuitous body horror, which was reflected in the inside of the characters. And then The Mechanic, which I've also heard good things about. Recommended by. Okay, so I go to my top 5. So my top 5 movies. I changed my list around a bit, and then I also don't necessarily think these were the best movies of the year, but they're my favorite movies of the year. So that's obviously probably the same with everyone here, how they do their list. So at number 5, I've got Challenges, and I put this mainly makes the list because I wanted to hate it. I'm not a fan of Zendaya. I dislike tennis. I love sport, but tennis would be up there with my least favorite sports. And the whole premise of the movie,
I'll be right back.
I thought there was no way I could possibly like Challenges, and I did. It really blew me away. I thought it was great. I'd watch it again tomorrow. It was just a really, really good movie that I didn't think I would like. If we want, whilst we wait for Zach to come back, we can go back to any questions.
Q&A,
So I haven't seen Dark Crystal for 1982. I must say I'm probably more excited about seeing classic movies that have actors in there that I now really like. I know that seems silly or narrow to the list, but things like, old Robert De Niro movies, or maybe some early Leonardo DiCaprio movies, because then I guess I have more buy into it because I already like those actors. But I also would like to see some hidden gems or ones I wasn't aware of. Okay, so Zach's back. So I was talking about how I had Challenges at number 5 on my list because I didn't expect to like it, and I really did. I thought it was a quick watch. It went fast. The cinematography was really good. I love the following of the tennis ball as they're hitting it back and forward.
It was amazing.
Yeah, there's just lots of things about this movie that I thought I would hate, but I really, really liked. And I'd recommend to people because it's not a complex story. It's not artsy. It's not indie, and it's not like your typical blockbuster that some people dislike. It kind of is just for anyone and everyone in a way. I know. I really enjoyed Challenges. Did you end up finishing it, Jacob?
I'll get back about Challenges.
Yeah, I know your hate for Zendaya really, really blinds you. Where I dislike it, but I was able to see past it in this movie. So I'll move to number 4 on my list. I've got Fly Me to the Moon. The reason I liked Fly Me to the Moon was it mixes. I have this fascination with history, but like a twist on history. So I like that this had historically accurate events, but then fed into the whole moon landing conspiracy, which I found really, really enjoyable. Why do you? I don't hate her. I just don't. It's one of those things I hear people talk about how amazing she is. I'm like, yeah, she's just a person. She's not, and maybe the fact she goes by one name. I don't know. I think that annoys me too.
What?
Like, I don't know. I just feel like that's kind of like a.
You don't like Cher? Madonna?
I don't dislike Cher. I think it's when someone goes by one name, it's like you're making a statement, I don't know. But yeah, I don't dislike. I just prior to this movie, all her other movies, I'm like, yeah, she's okay. But it's like one of those things that people go nuts about, and I don't know if maybe that was because of because she's dating
Tom Holland.
Tom Holland, is that the reason why her fame got there? But yeah, she's alright.
Who knows?
So I was saying Fly Me to the Moon. I really liked it because it is a mix of history with a bit of conspiracy, and then kind of like an interesting story added to that. So it kind of ticked the box for a lot of things. I do admit it did drag on at times, but I feel like it's a movie that appeals to a lot of people. When I went there, the movie theater was filled with so many different types of people, you know, from young to old, which I think was quite good. But it was a bit of a bomb technically at the box office. It didn't make the amount of money you think. Yeah, I know. I haven't watched what's the TV show she's in? I can't think of it. Euphoria. So yeah, that's why I don't know her prior to that. But I'm not saying she's not good, but some people think she's the best actress in Hollywood, which I don't agree with. But that's my personal opinion. Again, I'll just wait for Zach to come back before I go to the next one on the list. So any more questions for us, Kenny, while we're there?
How's your movie watching going, Kenny? I know you've seen a lot of movies as well.
Might be on a slight delay.
Apologize about that.
It's all good. Oh, he's back.
I'm back.
It's all right. You were just having a discussion about Zendaya, so we'll move on from that.
Yeah. Also, when I heard you, because I have my headphones still in, Zendaya is more famous than Tom Holland. He's getting famous on her. Don't you dare.
Oh. Yeah, as I said, I don't dislike her. I just don't understand the fandom around her. Like, she to me just seems like a, you know, like.
What do you mean? She's a fashion icon. She can sing. She was in a lot of Disney shows that people grew up on. She won awards for Euphoria, Greatest Showman, and now she's part of Dune and everything. So.
Yeah, I haven't seen The Greatest Showman either. So
it was a okay movie. It was a good musical, yeah.
Okay, so moving on. So I was talking about Fly Me to the Moon. I said that kind of ticks a lot of boxes for me. It's got that element of history mixed with fantasy. I think that's really cool. And then kind of feeding into the conspiracy theories that people have around the moon landing, I think is really clever. So I really like Fly Me to the Moon. My only criticism of it was it did drag on a bit, and it wasn't as well received from other people. It didn't really make its money back, and then now that it's on Apple TV, it's very hard to determine what its value is, because it's part of a larger package of streaming services. So
unfortunately, Channing Tatum and Scarlett Johansson don't sell tickets.
Yeah. So at number 3, I've got Young Woman in the Sea. So this is a movie I was trying so hard to find. Like Movie Mike's a reviewer that I like to listen to, a podcast. He was talking about this heavily with his wife, and I looked for ages and ages to try and find it. It did not come to theaters in Australia, but then it appeared on Disney Plus eventually. So that's when I got to see it. Again, similar to Fly Me to the Moon, it adds this. It's a historical something that I just like, things that are historical. Yes, this isn't it probably isn't fabricated at all. It's probably the true events to the letter. But I like the fact that it is something in history. Now it's someone that I didn't realize was so important and had influenced female sports as much. So I really enjoyed that it added that. What do you think, Jackie? Did you see it?
No, I haven't yet.
Any reason you won't see it?
I'll watch it.
You will watch it? Okay.
It's a great movie. It's a great movie. I'm like you said, I'm glad that it's out there because of the story I didn't know. And honestly, this movie should have been bigger because it's like an important American story that everyone should know about. Yeah,
and not like it had big stars in it too. It had a lot of elements I think that could have been big, but I don't know. Maybe it didn't appeal to the masses because, you know, maybe they don't care about swimming, or maybe if you're not American, maybe it's not interest. Maybe it doesn't seem important to you, or maybe because it's about a female icon, maybe that deters a lot of people too. But to me, I thought it was a really, really well done movie, and there wasn't much about it that I disliked or would have changed. It was a very, very interesting, and it's one that I'd easily recommend to other people. That then moves to number 2 on the list, which is a movie that I was kind of mixed about going into, which was Wicked. So my wife and her friends are massively into Wicked. They've been to the musical so many times. One of her friends has seen it 40 times now around the world. So I think that's wild to go see it, because it doesn't change. Like, it's the same. Like, to go see it 40 times and pay big money to see it 40 times, I think is really odd. But so I kind of was off-put by it. Like, I'd been asked to go see the stage show musical several times. I'm like, no, I'm not seeing it, because I don't know. I just decided I didn't want to see it because they were so into it. And I was like, well, it won't be for me. We reacted to a trailer to it, and I was like, oh, this looks like it's going to be good. And then the next lot of trailers came out. I'm like, oh, that's what it's about. It's about going to university. I was like, how does this tie into the Wizard of Oz? I'm like, nah, this I'm not going to like this. So I pulled the pin. We went and saw the movie, and I was blown away. For a movie that was nearly 3 hours long, I was engaged the whole way. The music was good. Somehow it made this ridiculous story of these two witches becoming friends at university being fun and funny. The acting was great. It had so many stars in there I didn't know was going to be in there. Just so many things about Wicked, and I'm like dying to see Wicked Part 2, but I'm not going to ruin it and read into it or go see the musical prior. I want to go into the movie unknowing of what's, I guess from the Wizard of Oz we know where it's going, but I don't know exactly how it unfolds. So I'm really looking forward to Part 2 of Wicked. And then number 1 is a movie that got quite a lot of awards the other day when we did our awards ceremony, and that's The Iron Claw. So I saw this really, really early in the year, and it's maintained top of the list the whole time. Again, true story, which seems to be the common trend with me. I do like things based upon true events. It just felt really real. It added the element of, sports and wrestling. Zac Efron is one of my favorite actors, even though people think that he's a bit of a joke, maybe because he started in High School Musical, and then he has been in some silly flop movies, but I really enjoy Zac Efron. I think the transformation he made to become as muscular as he did for this film is, that goes a long way to say what he's willing to do for a role. And again, it was a story I didn't know existed that I'm glad I now know. So Iron Claw was really good, super emotional, but I just don't know if I could recommend it to too many people and be confident they would like it because of the length and the themes. And it's sad. It's really sad. And they even had to cut bits out of it and not include some storylines because it would have been even sadder. So it was my favorite movie. I think it was the best well-done movie as well. But sadly, I don't think it's for everyone. So it's, I haven't recommended it to a lot of people because I think they may not like it, but I personally think it's great.
Just to clarify, you said Fly Me to the Moon had slow parts. I wouldn't Wicked have slow parts because not everyone likes musicals?
No, I don't think that makes a movie slow. That's like saying sport has slow parts because you don't like sport, but then it could be action-packed for 90 minutes, but because it's not action-packed for you, it's slow. I think what I mean by saying that Fly Me to the Moon was slow, I thought there was scenes in it where it just dragged out, where Wicked was song after song. Like it wasn't slow, it was full. There wasn't, scenes where they're just staring at the camera or like wandering off or internal dialogue. There was something going on the whole time. It wasn't slow. It was long, but it wasn't slow. So something can be
well paced,
slow.
This is my hot take about Wicked. I feel like Wicked, we already know what's going to happen, and they're also dragging out for Part 2. So I enjoyed Wicked. I don't think as much as Luke, but we'll see how Part 2 goes. But I enjoyed it, but it's not going to be on my top 5 best list. But we'll see how Part 2 finishes. I'm surprised because you normally don't like movies that go for a long time.
Well, I don't like movies that feel like they go for a long time. It's not about the length, it's the feel of the length. So I don't think that movie dragged on for me. And because it had the musical element and it had lots of singing and dancing and things going on. So it filled it. And so what's your issue with it being 2 parts?
I don't know. For me, I believe the musical isn't 2 parts, but I don't know. We already know what's going to happen to the character. It's basically a story of why she becomes the villain. But the detail for me, what I don't like about the movie is that the character the female character at the beginning of the movie that goes, Didn't you know the Wicked Witch of the West? And my thought was, how would you know that they were friends when you didn't even go to the school? But the reason why she had that dialogue is so the movie could continue. And when she said that kind of took me out of the experience for me when she said that. It's like, how would you know that information? Because the writers gave it to her.
Well, it's because she's not real. It's a fictional character. But they
No, but no, I think what you're missing is that beginning scene is not right after. That beginning scene is in the future. So the beginning scene that we see is at the end of part 2. So once we get to part 2, they will know that she knew was it Albatha? So
yeah. So the Wicked starts at the end of Wizard of Oz. So like, they're all celebrating Witch being killed, and then, well, you don't know. Maybe people did know that she was friends. Like, you're assuming that no one knew that this was a unique story. It's just a unique story to a lot of them. This person may have went to that university to ask that question, or knew someone that went to the university.
Well, from the look of her, she looked younger. If it was one of the
she was a munchkin, so they're meant to be like little people. So she was made to look younger.
Guess we'll see how part 2 explains her.
Well, the first one explains how they get to know each other, but either way, that's just like any story, like any movie you make. You could say, oh, well, why was there a camera following around this person and tracking their events? That doesn't make sense. Why did they make a movie? But I think Wicked, well, they've done it in 2 parts because most musicals have intermissions, but they've dragged it on, which kind of is a reason why you like TV shows, because they flesh out something more than a movie. So now they've decided to flesh out this into 2 parts.
6 hours.
Which is something you tend to like, except for you don't like it here. Is it the female characters, or is it because it's musical?
We already know the outcome.
Well, you could read Dune and say no point watching the movie.
I don't know the outcome. I have no idea what this is. I know she's gonna die. I just don't know why. I don't know how she becomes the character in Wizard of Oz. I don't know how Glinda gets her powers. I don't know any of what's going to go on.
Because people like them in interesting concepts.
School full of people knew they were friends. Alva is a fugitive. Word would spread that the people at the school knew her. Yeah, I believe that justifies enough. Like, she was a fugitive, and she may, even the Wicked Witch may have told people, like, we used to be friends, and this person backstabbed me. Like, there could be multiple reasons. Like, that's a very minor plot difference, but. Either way, I really enjoyed Wicked, so I thought they did it for a movie I didn't expect to like. I thought it did really well. I do like musicals, though, so I can see why other people may not have liked it. I go to a lot of musicals. I've been in musicals. I'm a fan of musicals, so that does help why I think it was a good movie, but I was expecting it to be bad. But I also really, really liked Wonka this year, and a lot of people didn't. It's almost the only thing I like that Timothée Chalamet's in, and it's probably his worst thing he's been in, but I really, really like Wonka. So, but obviously I'm really into musicals.
They just lit Wonka too. I'm excited.
They're making another one, are they?
Yeah, this movie made a lot of money.
Do you know what the story's going to be about for Wonka 2?
Probably him turning into more the Willy Wonka, similar to Wicked, turning more into the Willy Wonka that we know from the movie.
And Hugh Grant, Oompa Loompa being the lead of the Oompa Loompas.
Yeah.
Possibly. But yeah, Wonka was a very fun movie. That wasn't too far off making my top 5 list. Again, because I thought I was going to dislike it, and it was exceeded my expectations.
Yeah.
I thought I was going to dislike it mainly because I like Charlie and the Chocolate Factory so much. I thought this is going to bring shame to it, because I'm not a fan of the Johnny Depp Wonka movies. So I was expecting this to be a bit the same, but that was quite good. Probably Openings Factory, because we kind of see that at the end. He buys the castle, but could go further. Okay, do you want to do your top 5, Jackie?
Yes, of course. So just to clarify with my list, I haven't seen as many as these 2, and with my list, it's going to be more, I guess, I see when it comes to movies, having fun with your friends, enjoying movies, but at the end of the list, of course, it's going more critical thinking. So to start off with, number 5 is Transformers 1. So this is the prequel to all the live action Transformers. In the beginning, there's basically 2 parts of this movie. And the first part, I think, needed to develop the second part, but the second part is amazing. Seeing Optimus and all the characters, Megatron is amazing to see. Megatron's turn is rushed, but seeing the final moment with his eye when he knocks Optimus down is awesome. And then hopefully they make a sequel to this movie. I did my research and I think they're going to. Hopefully they do. And the animation is awesome as well. And we'll see with where they take it for the next movie. And Chris Hemsworth did a fine job voicing Optimus. They probably could have kept the original voice actor, but I guess they decided to go with who's hot at the moment. Visually, it's very awesome. The storyline is serviceable because this target market is for kids and OG fans of Transformers, and really had a fun time watching it. Also watched it by myself as well. Coming in at number 4, I think everyone knows I'm a super Marvel fan, is Deadpool and Wolverine. And the opening scene of Deadpool and Wolverine got me from the start. And I know it doesn't have the best plot. The plot is very convenient. I think it's very silly that the villain told Deadpool everything that he was doing, but I actually think Hugh Jackman's Wolverine is actually more of an interesting storyline than Deadpool. Deadpool just wanting to become an Avenger because that's what he wanted to do. Wolverine, Hugh Jackman being back in his iconic yellow suit, seeing that visually was very impressive. And this is what the Doctor Strange Multiverse of Madness should have been. Seeing Chris Evans back as the Human Torch, or I believe that's the character from the X-Men, when we all thought he was going to be Captain America, and then he came back as the character that he was in Fantastic Four. That was really hilarious. And this is all the cameos. Wesley Snipes as Blade, Jenny Tatum as what character? Gambit. Seeing all those cameos were amazing, and this was definitely the most cinema fun to have in the movie. It was really enjoyable. Definitely had a blast watching this movie. The story isn't great, but the scene when we got to see all the Deadpools, that was hilarious. Coming in at number 3 is Iron Claw. For me, Iron Claw had the most emotional drama, very impactful, very acting spectacularly by Zac Efron and everyone else in it. For me, I think it's the writers definitely wanted to pull your emotional heartstrings, what isn't a bad thing, but I guess for someone that's like, you could tell that they were trying to use this storyline to get at your emotional heartstring. Wasn't a bad thing or good thing. Definitely enjoyed researching more about this movie, that more tragedy actually happened to this family. And the wrestling for me was actually not the point of the movie. It was actually what happened to the family. I actually thought the wrestling was kind of boring because wrestling it's fake, but yeah, that's not the point of the movie. Yes, Zach?
The wrestling is not the outcome are decided before. They really get hurt.
Very true.
Sorry. Continue on. Talk about the greatness of the Iron Claw.
I actually thought it was unfortunate that what's this?
Wrestling's not fake.
It's true. Got too many wrestling fans in the chat right now.
It might be scripted, but they are athletes. There's no doubt about it. To be a wrestler, it is an athlete. It just happens to be pre-planned. It's like saying, musicals, they're not singers and dancers because they're getting told what to do. Like it's scripted. It's fine. It's just a lot of people die and get injured doing wrestling, so it's not fake. It's just scripted.
It was very toxic to see how the father would use his family to get, the wrestling name, and they had success, but unfortunately the success was so short-lived, and it kind of makes you think, is success worthing the diminishionness of the family legacy? And then the brother, played by Zac Efron, losing all of his family, and then as a grown man, him crying was very emotionally impactful. Coming in at number 2 is Kingdom of the Planet of the Apes, and for me, the reason why it's not number 1 is that this movie had to do too much. It can't be number 1 because it's basically setting up a new trilogy with Noah, but paying homage to Caesar, and also trying to bring in new fans and setting something epic at the end with the humans. It's doing too much. But when I think Noah's going to be an awesome character, and I think the next movie, when it eventually comes out, is going to be a chef's kiss, 10 out of 10. But this movie, it's doing, yes, it's going to be amazing movie, and I'm very much looking forward to the next movie. The performances from all the voice caption moments, Encore was great, and the Sadness movie I saw last year, top 10 movies.
I thought A Snail's Memoir was the saddest.
No,
Must have really
got last year. That's why.
Oh yeah, because
yeah. So it came out in November for us of last year.
Yeah, I think we got it like Boxing Day or something. So I've decided that my calendar year for movies is Boxing Day to Christmas Day.
Okay.
Yeah, so that's why I'm considering it this year. But
So yeah, with Kingdom of the Planet of the Apes, it's juggling too much. So when you think of, hello, Gemma.
Hey, Colin.
Oh, sorry, Colin.
It's Gemma because Colin's a kid.
Yeah. It's hello. How's the movie?
Yeah, no. Too late.
Anyway, with juggling too much, I think it's you can see where the vision's going for the next trilogy. Hopefully, it pays off, but definitely looking forward to where it's going. And coming in at number 1 is Fly Me to the Moon. The visuals of this movie, the special effects, the story of marketing by Scarlett Johansson gives me Air vibes. This very much reminds me of Air, this movie. Yes, there are slow parts of this movie, but I think this is really impactful to show that they almost didn't succeed with the moon landing, but it's very funny that they were trying to also fake it but succeed at the same time. And there's also a cat going on as well. Don't know if we needed that cat, but there's so much going on. It's such an awesome movie. Woody Harrelson is so good in this movie. Probably one of the best acting performances played by a villain. Really enjoyed this movie. And yeah, Fly Me to the Moon is the best movie of the year. Oh, Zach's having some technical issues.
You consider Woody Harrelson a villain in that movie?
Oh, he's somewhat a villain. He's working for the government, but he's not really.
Yeah, I guess he's just trying to push the importance of them getting
Yeah.
the moon landing done, and if not disappointing the people. But yeah, he's a good guy. He's just
Yeah.
persuasive in his approach. But and then ultimately the cat. If you remove the cat, then that's important to the whole moon landing thing falling apart when they're
Yeah.
filming it. If you remove the cat, then what else happens? But
Yeah.
solid, very, very solid movie.
Everything's all good, Zach?
I think I'm back. I'm back.
Yeah, you're back.
I noticed your
Okay.
face reaction when I said "Fly Me to the Moon."
I was just shocked. Like, once again, I don't hear anyone talking about this movie. That's what I love. One thing I'm going to say, and when I'm going to do my own top 20 best movies of the year list, I'm going to do that in January because I still want to see Baby Girl, Nosferatu, Kneecap, and a couple other films before I make my list. Because I think Nosferatu could make my top 10 based on what people say. This year has been one of the most unique years for cinema. I feel like the last couple of years, everyone's top 10 is kind of the same, kind of have the same films in them. I think this year we're going to be seeing people have wildly different lists because there's been so many different movies of quality, but like it's like niche. Like Dune Part 2 talks to a certain amount of people, but certain, like you two don't really like it. It doesn't talk to you guys. But Fly Me to the Moon is a movie that wasn't marketed well, and so people didn't really go see it. But the people who did watch it loved it. I noticed that the people that did go watch it did like it a lot, but there are people who just didn't go see it. And then there's people who love I Saw the TV Glow, and I don't like that movie at all. But there's some people think that's their number one favorite movie of the year. So I think this is one of the most unique years for cinema.
You know, I think it's funny that they didn't market Fly Me to the Moon well, but the whole movie is about marketing. Like, I think that's wild. Like,
that's pretty funny.
Yeah, it's like, how can you have a movie about marketing and then not?
I think Apple do a bad job at marketing the films in general.
Yeah, Apple's a funny one. Their streaming service, we talk about it a lot because Jacob loves it. I like it, and I'm a Apple fanboy, so like I like everything Apple. But I think their streaming service is just an interesting one because it's not their money maker. They probably run at a loss, like, to be honest, because they make their money off selling phones and computers. But they continue to bring out things, but they just don't. They have the budget to market things, but they don't. And then the movies they choose to go to the cinemas opposed to straight to streaming is really strange.
Yeah.
But they seem to be, their TV shows are like hidden gems. Like people that watch them love them, but then you don't hear about them if someone doesn't tell you because you don't see it. But then their movies are funny. Like I didn't see Napoleon, but people tear that to shreds. And that was one they chose to send to the movies instead of going straight to
I
streaming.
agree with Zach here. There's definitely my top two.
Okay, should we move on to our like bottom 5 or 5 most disappointing? Because we'll probably start to wrap it up in the next 30 minutes or so. So our thought with this list would be that it's not necessarily the 5 worst movies you've seen, because there's movies that I saw that I just knew were going to be bad because they're not for me. So it's more I put movies on there that I thought were going to be good but weren't, or like promised one thing and gave another. Because otherwise, Napoleon should have been sent straight to the trash heap. So because it'd be unfair, because there's movies that like I turned off after 10 minutes. So it's like I'm not going to include those because I knew they weren't for me. I'm going to put movies that I was excited to see and then disappointed. So have you got a list of 5 movies that disappointed, or you got some you could rattle off?
Yeah, I have my 5 worst movies of the year. So I saw TV Glow. We talked about this extensively. I just thought the movie was absolutely boring. The People's Joker, a movie that I was excited for because of all the controversy around it and the uniqueness of the concept of it, but it was also just a complete mess and boring. What's the name of this movie again? The American Society of Magical Negroes, another film. When I saw the trailer, I was worried, but I thought maybe they could make something unique like Get Out and Us as things like that. It was just offensive and stupid. The only reason it's not at the bottom of my list is because I kind of like the romantic part of it, but the messaging and everything that they did in that film it just missed the mark. Next is The Crow. Absolutely just a miss for me. The action was cool, but had no stakes because he can't die. And then the acting was awful. This is I think Bill Skarsgård is one of the best actors doing it right now, but this is one of his worst performances I've ever seen from him ever. Yeah, everything about the script for this one is garbage. And then the last one, and my worst movie I've seen this year is Tyler Perry's Mea Culpa. That's just a joke. That movie was a joke. I couldn't believe this made it to it didn't go to theaters, it's straight to Netflix. I can't believe it made it to Netflix. I was just like, what is going on with Tyler Perry? I don't know. That movie is just stupid and silly, and it does a lot of my pet peeves I have in cinema. Like one of my pet peeves watching a movie is when people are having a conversation and then one person walks away and then they call the person back and they start having a conversation again. It's like, why did they walk away? Just continue the conversation. And just a lot of stupid and silly stuff.
What's the movie? I want to look it up.
Mea Culpa is MEACULPA.
Okay, haven't heard of it. Okay,
yeah, it's starring Kelly Rowland from Destiny's Child. Yeah, it's not good.
Okay, so that's your top five, bottom five. For me, I've got, they're not really in particular order, but I'll read them in an order. So we got Players at number 5. So this was a movie on Netflix about a group of people that are each other's wingman and help them pick up, to like go on dates. And it was meant to be funny, but I didn't laugh at a single thing. The main character was a female who wouldn't have any issues picking up like one night stands, but yet she's part of these elaborate plans where her friends help her. And then they go on this elaborate plan of trying to, she has a one night stand with this guy she really likes. And then instead of just asking him on another date, they do all these crazy tactics they use to try and pick up people in bars to set them up. And it just doesn't seem needed. She could just ask him on a date. And then very typically she then falls in love with her best friend who was like there all along for her. And it was just super predictable. I didn't laugh at it once for a comedy and it just offered nothing. So I when I saw the trailer, I thought this could be funny, but it was nothing. Like
what's the name of the movie again?
Players.
Oh, never heard of it. Let me look that up.
Yeah, it's like this idea of a group of people trying to like do all these tactics of going into bars and pretending and like just like all these pickup tactics. And the premise sounds kind of fine. It's like the main actress is an attractive female that wouldn't need to do any of these things. And then the person she's interested in likes her back and she could just ask him on a date, but instead they do these stupid things like meet cutes and trying to coordinate this whole song and dance where she could have just asked him on a date. It like just doesn't make much sense. They replaced my Rebel Moon Part 2 with Joker 2. Actually expected nothing from Rebel Moon. I haven't seen it. Oh, here's Kenny's American Society of Magic. Saw the TV Glow, Rebel Moon, Maxine. See, I saw Maxine, but I hadn't seen any of the others prior to that. I didn't realize it was part of a franchise, so I couldn't really give it a rating because I didn't know if it was good or not. I like your number 5. I'm going to get to that. Crisis on Infinity Earth. That I've got that on my list. So at 5, I got Players. 4, controversially, I put The Substance, not because I thought it was bad. I just wanted to like it and didn't. Number 3, I got The Exorcist with Russell Crowe in it. That was like maybe the worst horror movie I've ever seen and really made no sense. I don't know if you saw it, Zach.
No, I thought it was a sequel to that other Exorcist movie he was in.
Nah, it's like not related. But I really like haunting movies, like any of those, like anything in the Exorcist world, or like the the Nun ones. Like I really like those. But this movie, like he's literally in front of everyone, and because they're like making a movie, they're making The Exorcist, but then the actors keep getting demons go inside them on the film set, and he's literally like bending over backwards and doing all the like the head spinny stuff that you would, and everyone's watching it and they're like, oh yeah, I wonder if he's all right, and they like continue on like life's normal. It's like you just saw someone bend over backwards and their head's spinning around and they're like, yeah, okay,
everything's okay,
and then the movie continues on. Like no, it's very strange. So that's 3. Number 2, I've got I Saw the TV Glow. And then at number 1, I've got, as Kenny mentioned, Crisis on Infinity Earth. So I've got parts 1, 2, and 3. I regret watching them, and I don't know why I continue to watch part 2 and 3 after disliking part 1, but it made no sense. And I, as someone that doesn't watch a lot of animated content, thought I'd give it a crack because I've mentioned before I like DC, and this has deterred me now. So I regretted watching this. It really deterred me in no sense.
You can't watch this one movie and then just get
I watched
deterred
3.
from
I
it.
watched 6 hours of movies.
Well, 3 of the same series. You watched.
Yeah. Nah, I'll still continue to give other things a watch, but yeah, it was. I can't even explain it. It like just doesn't make sense, and it was just all over the shop. And
You know how Deadpool told Wolverine, "Welcome to the MCU," joining at a low point? That's what you did with DC Animated. You joined it when things started getting bad because DC Animated used to be the best,
top tier.
and over the last couple years, it just
don't bother, Kenny. You're going to regret it. You're going to waste your time, and you're going to be more disappointed. It doesn't make any more sense as it goes further on.
Damn.
I watched it with my son, and he enjoyed it because he was like, "Oh, look, it's the Flash. It's this and that," but he doesn't know what's going on. But no one knows what's going on. So him and I were sitting there, the same thing, just looking at pretty pictures, not following the story at all.
He said, "No one knows."
Yeah. The writers don't know what's going on. Okay, what's your bottom 5, Jacob?
My bottom 5. So with the first 2, I actually didn't finish these movies. Coming in at number 5 is Borderlands, and I told everyone about this movie from the trailers. This looks terrible, and from the first scene when we got introduced to Kate Blanchett's character, I was like, this is terrible. And then I kept watching it, and I'm like, oh, this is not good. So I just gave up. I'm not going to bother about this movie. This is just a terrible game movie, unfortunately, because we've been getting so many good game properties. We've got Sonic. We've been blessed with The Last of Us, Fallout. We are getting the BioShock TV show from Netflix, and I believe we're getting the Warhammer TV show with Henry Cavill. Maybe he might be pulling out. Don't know. But this movie, I knew from the trailer, and I was right. The fourth one, I think, is going to be a lot more controversial, but it just did not grip me at all. I don't see what's so good about it is challenges. So with this movie, with the whole different perspectives, with starting the tennis game first and then going back with different timelines, and then with the two boys liking the same girls. So we had the movie at the beginning, and then them liking Zendaya, so the plot moved along.
The first movie is just the Flash running the audience into confusion. I still don't know.
The whole time that, and then what really got me, what I thought was really out of left field and really perverse, was when they had their sexual scene, what to me was really didn't need to happen in the movie. So I personally don't like challenges, and it has nothing to do with Zendaya. I give every actor a chance. I just personally don't like the movie, and so those two movies are finished with. Coming in at number 3 is Heretic. I really thought this movie was going to make the top 5. The beginning was really strange when the two female actresses were talking about porn and sex and stuff like that. I was like, this is a really weird way to start off the movie. And then once they got into Hugh Grant's house, the movie was so good. I was like, this is a really cool concept. And then once we got to the ending, when literally Hugh Grant's character stabbed the girl in the neck and then she came down, I'm like, I'm done. That was awful. That did not make sense. The worst thing that I've seen all year from a movie. That was awful. That made no sense. Complete outrage. That the ending was awful. Worst thing I've seen all year. It made no sense. It would have made more sense. Hugh Grant's character was literally dying. She could have just gone boom and then ran out of the room. But instead, we have to have this scene that made no sense. So she had her little moment when she would have been dead. All the blood out of her body would have been gone. So for me, that I know you're probably thinking you love your details, but details matter. For me, those details do not make sense. Coming in at number 2 is Civil War, and for me, this movie sold itself in the title as Civil War, learning about why America had its second Civil War. And basically, we learn about why these people do what they do, documenting things and reporting. And to me, it was not interesting. It was not what it was sold to be. And the whole plot about, finding the president, and that does not even happen, for me was a very big letdown. And the only saving grace for why it's not number 1 is the bullet effects are so gorgeous and so amazing, very electrifying. Really enjoyed the actual combat. Just needed to explain things more. Because living in Australia, I don't really understand why America would go into civil war. And the only reason that they explain it within acting is, the president has gone rogue. He's bombed stuff. To me, that's like, well, not a lot of explaining there. So Civil War is number 2. Coming in at number 1 is Dune 2.
You're lying.
No, kidding. Just kidding. It's actually Joker 2.
No way. It's the number 1 worst movie you've seen.
No, it's Joker 2. So,
okay.
White, I just wanted to see your reaction.
I was like, no, don't react, Zach. Don't react. And I was like, I can't help it. How could he?
I knew you would. The reason why Joker 2 is, for me, the worst movie or most disappointing movie is that the first one was so amazing, but with the second movie, I think the director wanted to go too much in an artsy-dartsy way, wanting to add in the courtroom drama, wanted to add in musical numbers, wanted to add in so much. They just lost the plot, and it is totally agree about it. Thank you, Kenny. Unfortunately, Lady Gaga being in the movie, I actually think hurt the movie, and I actually think she shouldn't have been in the movie. Like, unfortunately, Harley Quinn being in the movie it added nothing to the movie. I think gotta run.
See you, Kenny.
Thank you. It had nothing. It had no oomph from it. So Joker 2 for me is very disappointing and worst movie of the year. When I was thinking about how hyped I was from the trailers and then going into the movie, like when I did the review, I was more generous to it, but thinking about it, it's actually the worst movie of the year because of how number 1 set up for number 2. I don't know how I feel about the ending with someone else killing the Joker and taking up the mantle. Who knows? But that's my list.
I agree. I have issues with Joker. It disappointed me, but I don't think it was bad. I just thought it could have been amazing, and it was okay. Like,
agree.
I thought the courtroom stuff was so clever, and like the way he carried on, I just thought if it took a different direction, it could have been better than the first one, but it took the wrong direction, in my opinion. But it had all the pieces there. I think it had the pieces.
Just fumbled.
Yeah. Well, it's just that was the choice they went. I guess there's a reason they make movies and we don't.
Just criticize them.
Yeah. Okay, so that's our bottom 5. Kenny's gone. I don't know if anyone else wants to ask any more questions, but have you got anything you want to ask Jacob of Zach before we wrap it up?
I guess, Zach, from watching as many movies as you do, does it make you want to do it next year, or what's your movie goals for next year? Is it try to get to a higher number? Is it try to watch a particular genre? What's your goal for next year when it comes to movies?
So I think for this year, I'm going to probably end up at 140 movies, maybe get to 150. I might. That's the plan of 150 2024 movies, because there's so many movies I want to catch up on, like Saturday Night I haven't seen and things like that.
That's good.
Yeah. And I think 150 movies is like my cap. I think that it's enough, because it's watching so many movies is taken away from me watching television shows and doing other things. So I think 150 movies right throughout the year will be my cap. But the goal will be to watch a variety of more movies. I want to see more foreign films. I want to see more Black-led films. I want to see more comedies. I didn't see a lot of comedies this year. I want to just see more different kinds of films so I can challenge myself and also have more variety in my list and things like that. I feel like my list, a lot of it's like a lot of the same kind of movie, even though the movies are different. So that's my challenge for next year. See more movies from other countries and see more of different genres. I didn't get to really see that much from this year.
And what genres are those?
Comedy. So yeah, I think mostly like comedies and like romance films. I didn't watch that much of those. And like just regular dramas. I haven't seen a lot of dramas this year either. I'm like watching some now because of the Oscars, but I just want to catch them as they come out. And just movies, some lesser known movies starring African American people. I really like to watch them, review them, and get them out there, because a lot they don't get promoted that much. And some of the favorite movies that I've seen this year are movies that I caught on streaming. I was like, let me check this out. And I'm like, oh, this is really good, but no one's talking about it. So that's like my goal going into 2025.
What's your goal for the year, Jacob?
Movies wise, or
in general, movie, television wise? Like, don't extend it to like personal stuff. What are you planning with the channel? What do you want to try and do?
Do more live streams. I think have a balance between movies and TV shows, and I think get back into talking about disability topics, I think.
Okay. And you got an aim for, do you want to watch more movies next year than TV shows, or you want to continue doing the same thing you're doing?
Probably equal amounts, because watching TV shows streaming is easier because life and stuff like that. Yeah.
I'm looking forward to not watching as many movies, just because I felt a lot of them I rushed through, or was trying to like watch them whilst doing something else just to try and add them to the list. So I'd like to choose a higher quality of movies than just trying to watch. I want to go for quality over quantity, which quality doesn't necessarily mean like it has good reviews or it's blockbuster, but seeing things that interest me. There's a lot of movies I watched just because it was available to watch and I needed to meet a quota. So I want to move away from that and just go back to enjoying movies instead of just trying to fill a list. So that's what I'm looking forward to next year.
That makes sense.
Okay. You want to wrap it up, Jacob?
Okay. Well, thank you everyone for joining in the live stream. Hope you've had fun and enjoyed listening to our discussions. And as always, like and subscribe to Zach Attack. He's an awesome person. And yeah, see you. Have a Merry Christmas and Happy New Year, everyone. See you in 2025.
See ya.
See ya.
And sorry. Not working.